Hey, the April real estate market continues to be on fire, though the financial data across the country is showing some pockets softening due to the rising interest rates. Now, that said, the Seattle real estate market continues to be on fire, and today we'll look at what's going on nationally and tie it into how that trend is showing up locally. Now, are you ready to get into the details? Come on, let's go. Hey, Robbie with the Rams Group at eXp Realty here, and I am delighted that you stopped by. Now, my goal is to provide meaningful, relevant, and educational content to help both home sellers and buyers be in the real estate know and be aware of what's coming down the pike. And today we'll discuss three important topics. Number one is how will the increase in mortgage rates affect the home prices? And number two is how the rates will affect the home sales. And number three, we'll look at how what is going on nationally is impacting what we are seeing locally in King, Snohomish, and Pierce counties. And lastly, what to do if you are a seller or buyer in this market today. And as a tip, I have provided a timeline below for you to quickly jump to specific topics within the video as necessary. Okay, it'll help you. Now let's first discuss the impact of rising mortgage rates on home prices. Now, one question you may have is, with the rising mortgage rates, are home prices going to fall? It's a very valid question. To answer it meaningfully, let us look at the historical data about what happened when the mortgage rates were rising and how other variables were affected. Here's how the mortgage rates have been rising this year. No surprises there, right? This is the data from Freddie Mac, and it goes back to the very beginning of this year. What you can see here is on the left is that mortgage rates started out at a little above 3% for the average 30-year fixed at the beginning of this year, and they've just steadily climbed since then. Now, you may be seeing something slightly higher, slightly lower in your market, and that's very realistic. So at the very end of March, the average 30-year fixed was at 4.67%. Now, as of today, though, the interest rate is at 5+%. Now, the Freddie Mac says that mortgage rates are likely to continue to move higher throughout the balance of 2022, although the pace of rate increases is slightly going to moderate. And now, one question you may ask is, what is going to happen to home prices if the mortgage rates rise, right? That's a valid question. Now, a lot of people think that when rates go up, prices will go down. Well, I want to share something that will interest you. So here we see the impact of rising interest rates on home prices when mortgage rates rose by more than a percentage point, that is. So this goes all the way back to October of 1993, so almost 30 years, right? And it shows you that there was an average of about 8% home price appreciation as mortgage rates are rising more than a percentage point. So the conclusion is that rising interest rates have not had a negative impact on home prices. Now, the next question is, what is going to happen to sales with the rise in rates, right? So let's look at the home sales data for the same period of time, going all the way back to 1993. Now, what we can see here is that there was an average of 11% decrease in home sales as rates were rising. Now, we know that as rates rise, that tends to sometimes reduce buyer activity, correct? It's logical. It prices some people out of the market, and overall, today, we have a very different housing market than what we had in some of these environments back then. Now, let's take a look at the first line, October 93 to December 94. Mortgage rates increased by 2.38% to a final rate of 9.2%. Now, we're not projected to have a 2.5% increase in rates to get over 9%, so a very different environment exists today than what it was then. Today, we are looking at close to about 1.5% increase in rates. So let's look at the same data in that light. Here, there's a little bit of orange, there's a little bit of black shown on the table, meaning that home sales had really negligible impact as mortgage rates were rising. And of course, the outlier is 2005, 2006, which led up to the housing crisis, and home sales dropped by 14%, as you can see. So when we factor this data out, we start to see that rising mortgage rates do not have a huge impact on the home prices. Now, you may wonder why that is. We have to look at the inventory component, because today what we are seeing is drastically low inventory. The inventory today is lower than what it was in January of 2021. Now it's a huge deficit, right? Given. And when inventory is that low, guess what? Home prices are projected to continue rising. Now there are plenty of buyers in the market and literally no inventory. So when you see headlines about softening in home sales right now, it's not because of the rising mortgage rates. It is because there is limited or no inventory in many places. And I think it really helps to paint the complete picture of what has happened historically and where we are headed as well. When we look at the months of inventory, we have going all the way back to 2003, 2004, we had 5 months worth of inventory, then 4.5 months, then 4.8 months, which was a very, very different level of inventory than what we have today. Now, home prices are projected to continue rising, and that is because inventory is still low. So I want to pause here for a quick second and kind of summarize where we are at as we look at this data. As mortgage rates rose by more than 1%, and we are in a similar environment right now as well, so it makes it relevant. Home prices continue to appreciate. So the rates had negligible impact on the home sales outside of the housing bubble, of course, as you can see. And here's a good one from Freddie Mac that you can act on. With rates rising and expected to rise through 2023, it makes sense to obtain a purchase or a refinance mortgage if you're in good standing. Home prices and sales activity will be more dependent on inventory rather than the rates themselves to a large part. Now, after covering the rates, prices, and appreciation of what's happening nationally, let us see how King, Snohomish, and Pierce counties reacted. In King County, the number of new listings increased compared to that of last year and even compared to last month, as it is spring. And as you're aware, spring and summer months are when home inventory normally increases. Now, the sellers who are sitting on the fence, hoping for prices to continue to increase, are heeding the rise in mortgage rates, coming to terms with not being able to leverage the market for much longer, are forcing themselves to put their homes on the market. Of course, if there's a need for them to sell, that is. Now, they're not counting on timing the market anymore. That's what we are observing. Now, King County saw an increase of 3% in the home inventory. Of course, this was in March, and April should see the numbers get higher. Now, Snohomish, on the other hand, saw an increase of about 20% in the home inventory. Now, the increase in Snohomish's home inventory could be due to the fact that in the back of people's minds, they're thinking that corporate offices are opening after the pandemic, and places at a distance from where there's high corporate activity, like areas around Seattle, Bellevue, Redmond, and a few other places to name, may not be more attractive price appreciation wise. Then moving on to Pierce County as well, the number of single-family homes that came on the market increased by about 6%. Now moving on to pending sales. Now this is how many homes that were active and went under contract. This number decreased in King County in all of March. Now this could be because few sellers are overpricing their homes to start off, causing some of the homes, not all by any means, to sit on the market longer, pulling the curve down a bit. Now also, what is interesting is that Snohomish County saw an increase in the pending sales activity. Now, one thing is that more homes came on the market. However, what is a key determinant is that buyer activity remains so strong still that part of the pool of the buyers is willing to move away from King County and still scoop the homes in Snohomish. That's what we're saying. Now, this pool of buyers are the ones that either were priced out of King County homes or have submitted multiple offers and are yet to get under contract on one of those homes, one of those two reasons, basically. Now, things have to be looked at from both the seller's perspective and buyer's perspective for you to get a complete picture, right? So that's where that becomes important. Now, let us look at the number of days on market before which homes go under contract. Now, there's no surprise here, right? The inventory has gotten tighter with homes still flying off the shelf as soon as they launch, and the average has been around 9 days in King and Snohomish counties, which is a reduction of about 40% for the days on market metric. Now let us look at the average home price appreciation. In King County, it rings at about 18% year over year. Okay? Set in terms of dollars, this is staggering. It is a tad over $1.228 million. And that is an average price appreciation, by the way, of about $200,000 in just 1 year. Again, Snohomish County has been shattering all records at a 31.9% increase in average home prices year over year. Now, one thing to note is that all these stats are all over the county, which means that certain homes could pull the curve either upward or downward. Okay? Something for you to be aware of as you look at this data and make sense. Now, switching gears to the home inventory, it has gotten much tighter in King County, about a 10% decrease from the same time last year. Now, while that is true for King County, Snohomish saw the number of homes available for sale increase year over year. And again, this is tied to the number of new listings that came on the market in Snohomish County, increasing way more than what it was in King County. And finally, the months of supply, which is an important metric too, right? Which drives everything else. King County saw less than 1 month's worth of home inventory, about 0.4 months to be precise, which roughly translates to about 12 days worth of inventory. Now, what this metric actually measures is how long the homes that are currently active on the market will take to sell, assuming no new homes came on the market. Just to refresh. So the tighter home inventory is making us see the list to sales price ratios increase, also known as the price escalation component. And it hovers around 13% more than the list price. And again, this is the average for the entire county compared to just last March. And this is not the overall price escalation received in all pockets of King County. For example, there are homes in Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, even Bothell and Mill Creek still receiving about 25 to 35% price escalations. Well, that's a wrap. I'm keeping my eyes on the market and shall keep you informed, okay? Now, all that said, here's the bottom line. If you are a seller, leveraging the market and increased buyer frenzy before it all dies out and the rates go up would add to your bottom line. And if you're a buyer, on the other hand, being in the fight and not letting go will help you avoid paying a higher mortgage, monthly mortgage, that is, as the rates rise, building equity right away, and leverage the home price appreciation to your advantage. Now, all that said, I have included the data for all the three counties, King, Snohomish, and Pierce, below for you to slice and dice. And if you have any questions or need any additional insights about the market or what you can do right now, I'm available for you to direct message me, text, or give a call, and I'm happy to chat. And as always, we at the Rams Group are delighted to serve you and answer any of your questions at any time. Until next time, you stay safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.